Hey guys, Jamil here. Welcome to Mindset Reader, where I share with you unique insights and ideas you can use directly in your own life to break through mental roadblocks by using a perspective outside of the status quo to start building up a more powerful mindset while on the path to your passion. I went through a lot of these while starting my journey, and I'm still going through a bunch of them right now. And through relentless learning, I found ideas that work for me, might work for you, that I plan to share through my perspective that are either backed by science or experience, that teach you how to connect newer ideas with your existing insight. Ideas that develop you into a more independent thinker. So today, I want to talk about the problem that precedes instant gratification, which is expectation. The best way to conquer is expand on something I said in the last video I made. I figured you'd probably want a deeper explanation on that because I just said it. I didn't tell you exactly how to do it, so that's why we're here today. I'm going to show you how. If you can change your expectations of the future, then you'll be able to blow past the temptations that you feel right now. So the question we want the answer to is, why is it when we genuinely want to change something about ourselves, or start going to the gym, or start that project we've always had our eye on, why is it so hard to do? Like literally, how do we prioritize a junior chicken right now over looking and feeling our best later on? Like looking and feeling your best later on is clearly way better than enjoying that taste of that burger for 30 seconds. Well, as you probably assumed, we just get the burger faster through an act of instant gratification. But what if I told you it's not so much of a problem of when we get that thing, it's more of a problem of if we get that thing. We all know all you have to do to get a junior chicken is just drive down to McDonald's and give up $3. Then you're guaranteed to get exactly what you set out to do. Or when it comes to working out or hitting your health goals or anything long term, there's that sneaking suspicion that you actually might not get it. So that's why I don't think it's so much of a question of when you'll get there. Most people know that if you work out, you will hit your health goals. At some point you will hit your health goals. This then becomes a question of if you get there. So where does this if come from? After you work out for a month and you don't start to see any radical changes in your body, you start to develop these doubts of if you'll get there. And that makes perfect sense. You've been doing it for a month. How do you know if you do it for 1 more month it's going to be the same or it's going to be different? Okay, so based on the information you've gathered so far from that 1 month of working out, it is easier to assume that if you spend another month, you probably won't get there. That's why this becomes a problem of expectations of the future. So when we can't get that dream body or dream life or dream business or whatever you would want, what would be the solution to that? There are many solutions, but one solution that I see that works very often is to find a way to experience the success as if it's happening right now. Now I'm gonna do my best to explain how to enjoy experience before it even has happened. I support you, but just cheering you on is not gonna help you. Telling you the problem is, and then I'm gonna tell you the mentality that it took to get into that state. Now, of course, we're gonna have to dive into how humans are wired. So what we need to understand is that humans are designed with a goal-oriented system, just like all animals. When we're hungry, we're gonna be motivated to look for food. When we're tired, we're gonna be motivated to search for a place to rest. This built-in guidance system guides us to the individual's physical survival and the survival for the species, which is why we would do the same for family and friends. Humans, on the other hand, have another pillar on top of that, which is our emotional and spiritual pillars. This is what we would call our imagination. This is why we have the urge to create, invent, tell stories, etc. Imagination is the most underrated thing we know how to do, and it is the most neglected tool. It's actually insane. You would see like a lot of like the neglection of imagination in academia and the sciences. They'll gather information and data from studies as well as statistics, but very rarely they'll venture into the realm of speculation to connect all of these ideas, all this data point that they have, into forming a brand new theory. A brand new theory that could risk embarrassment using their imagination. Their peers pass off speculation and the use of imagination as high intelligence. It's not hard to find evidence to go against a brand new theory. It's quite simple in most cases. Religious and non-religious people are a perfect example. There are a lot of people that have beliefs so strong that they refuse to accept any other possibility other than what they already believe to be true. Nothing can open their mind because it's just easier to stick to the facts and studies that they already know, even if those facts and studies don't necessarily prove everything. While I was reading Mastery written by Robert Greene. He quoted something written by Max Planck that really stood out to me. Scientists must have a vivid, intuitive imagination, for new ideas are not generated by deduction, but by an artistically vivid imagination. That's why it's so hard for us to do certain things. We're allowing deductive reasoning to rule our lives without giving any chance to our imagination to consider any other alternative possibility. That is why when we pick up something new and we suck for 6 months, it's so easy to assume we'll never get better, when the 7th month could have been your breakthrough month that made it all worth it. Your reasoning inside your head, if I've sucked at this for this long, then it's only logical that I'll continue to suck at this for the rest of my life. That's what happens when our expectations, what we can accomplish, is based on the past of what we already have done. And most of the time, you're not even basing it off of the good things you've done. We should spend our lives proving the theory that we have the ability to create a better future and not depend solely on information from the past. Remember, humans are designed to be goal-oriented, so even if you don't hit them for a long time, you have no regrets striving for it. Because the alternative, essentially living variations of the negative past over and over and over again. If we don't believe that there's an answer to change our future, then we're not even going to begin to look to see if there's questions we could ask if it's possible to do so. That's why we have to change our expectations of it. So let's try and be open-minded here and use the best of both worlds to try and change our future, okay? By using both deductive reasoning and imagination. That's where you assume just because you've sucked for 6 months, you're gonna suck 6 months more. And you're not gonna do anything to change about what you're actually sucking at. And don't start deducing how you can get there until you physically feel in your body that you're living in that experience that you're imagining. So I'm gonna walk you through a little exercise I do. So we all have different experiences that we wanna strive for. So I'm just gonna give you an example, just template it, do whatever you want, just make it work for you. But before you even decide on what you're gonna do to get to that experience, you're gonna have to close the door in logic. There's no room for logic here right now, okay? You're gonna be a little delusional today. So we're gonna have a lot of fun. So let's say you want to get that dream body. What you need to do is imagine yourself being in a workout and diet routine that you enjoy and that you're able to stick to no matter if life gets in the way or not. And then just picture inside your head the satisfaction of getting to that point after being inconsistent for so long, or experience what it would be like to finally create an organized process that you love, that allows you to create consistent articles on your blog that tell your story and share your message after dealing with the pain of disorganization you felt for so long when you were first starting. Imagining the habits that lead to actual experiences rather than the outcomes that come from it work better every single time. Now that you've embodied that experience, we're going to use some deductive reasoning to see how you can get there. Yeah, imagination is good, but I can't have you walking around like it's just gonna come to you suddenly after you're not doing anything. You're just picturing yourself doing it. You gotta actually go to do it. Now that we have our goal, we're gonna reason in line with it, because now you're no longer reasoning in line with the previous self-image you had. You're now reasoning in line with the self that knows it could do it. So what do we know so far? So if we know humans crave to be moving towards something, and for something to exist, it has to be real, then something must exist for humans to move towards it. I'm not some logician. I'm not sure if that has any fallacies, but whatever. That's not the point, okay? We're here to sprinkle some of that tasty imagination on here for spice. If you're thinking for something to exist, you have to see it or own it, then you're already thinking like the scientist who can't think past the facts and study. Don't be that guy. Stop looking at the concrete definition of exist and whatever fallacies that might fall in that logical argument. Just focus on the experience you created in your mind. Your brain doesn't know the difference between an imagined experience and a real experience. So just pay attention to the experience you'd rather have rather than deducing your way out of getting what you want. We must learn how to think like the scientists of an artistically vivid imagination by using feelings from past successes instead of the negative past. We're breaking away from using feelings from our past failures as the default, okay? We're doing none of that. Use the successes as an anchor alongside of expectations of future of the experiences we're trying to get materially. I just realized this is manifestation. That way when you spend 6 months failing, you won't draw on 6 months of failing. You'll view those 6 months as learning instead. Having the resilience to spend 6 straight months of learning what not to do, plus you're pursuing something that will set you up for the rest of your life, damn, 6 months doesn't seem so long anymore. I'm gonna share you the marshmallow experiment study that I'm sure you already heard of. But there's an angle on this experiment that people often miss when they tell this story. This will help you understand experiences and expectations way better. Alright, Kate, no way I'm gonna remember this. I'm just gonna read straight from the book, okay? When Walter Michael ran his famous marshmallow test in the early 1970s, he was trying to understand how the ability to delay gratification develops with age. At nursery school on the Stanford campus, a series of 3, 4, and 5-year-olds had their willpower tested. Each child would be shown a delicious treat, such as a marshmallow, and told that the adult running the experiment was about to leave the room for a while. If they wanted to, they could eat the treat right away, but if they waited until the experimenter came back, they would get 2 treats. Unable to resist, some of the children ate the treat immediately, and some of them stuck it out for the full 15 minutes or so until the experimenter returned and got 2 treats as promised. But perhaps the most interesting group comprised the ones in between. The one who managed to wait a little while, but then surrendered and ate the treat. These cases where children struggled mightily and suffered valiantly, only to give in and lose the extra marshmallow anyway, have been interpreted as a suggestion as a kind of irrationality. If you're gonna cave, why not just cave immediately and skip the torture? But it all depends on what kind of situation the children think they are in. As the University of Pennsylvania's Joe McQuire and Joe Cable have pointed out, if the amount of time it takes for adults to come back is governed by a power law distribution, you don't need to know that. With long absences suggesting even longer waits lie ahead, then cutting one's losses at some point can make perfect sense. Now, the part that is not talked about so much of the story is how prior experiences might have had affected the behavior of the kids in the marshmallow experiment. And that's exactly what a team of researchers from the University of Rochester thought. So what happened before the marshmallow experiment was even conducted? Well, before the marshmallows were even mentioned, they gave the kids some art pieces to play around with until they were told what's gonna happen next. They gave all the kids mediocre art supplies and they told them that they're gonna be back a little bit later on with some better stuff. But what the kids didn't know is that they were in an experiment inside of an experiment. The kids were divided into 2 groups, and in one group the experimenter was reliable. In the other group, the experimenter came back with nothing but apologies, worthless. What they noticed is that the kids who had learned that the experimenter was unreliable were more likely to eat the marshmallow in the next experiment before the experimenter came back. Decades after the original marshmallow experiments, Walter Mischel and his colleagues went back and looked at how the participants were faring in life. Astonishingly, they found that the kids who had waited for 2 treats grew into adults who were more successful than the others, even measured by quantitative metrics like their SAT scores. If the marshmallow test is about willpower, this is a powerful testament to the impact that learning self-control can have on one's life. But if the test is less about will than about expectations, then this tells a different, perhaps more pungent story. Failing the marshmallow test and being successful later in life may not be about lacking willpower or having the ability to hold off instant gratification. It could be a result of believing that adults are not dependable. And the same works for you in reverse when it comes to getting what you want. When you show yourself you are dependable, it is easier for you to work on those long-term goals because now they seem possible. All it takes is to draw back on experiences that you've already been able to do successfully. And this could be as simple as brushing your teeth or showering all day. Showering all day. Or showering every day. So ask yourself, what are the tiniest steps that you can take towards your goal that will allow you to reap the benefit of a later and greater reward of the future right now? When you feel it in your bones that you're living in that experience, making the sacrifices necessary to get there becomes so easy. Because if you know at some point you're gonna get it, why not wait the little extra time to get double the marshmallow? And I'll leave you with that to ponder on. Thank you so much for watching. So make sure you leave a like on this video so it gets out to more people, and then you guys will have a little bit more company in the comment section. And make sure you check out the free video series in the first description below, which shows a live version of me going through this process, as well as a step-by-step on how you can do this for yourself as well. Thank you for staying to the end. You're pretty amazing for doing so. Thanks for sticking around.